3. Ripples of defiance. The morning after the New Yam festival felt like any other, yet Obinna carried a new weight in his heart. A flicker of hope mingled with the sting of frustration. Nena's words from the night before echoed in his mind. Change has to start somewhere. But what could he do? He was just an OSU, bound by tradition that stretched back generations. He wandered to the stream, the place where he often found solace. The sun filtered through the thick canopy of trees, casting dappled light on the water. As Obinna knelt to wash his hands, he heard footsteps behind him. "I thought I might find you here," came Nena's voice. Obinna looked up to see her standing with her arms crossed, a slight smile on her lips. "Why did you come?" he asked, rising to face her. "Because you're not alone," she replied simply, stepping closer. "And because I believe you're right." Obinna's heart raced. "Right? About what?" Nena sighed, glancing back toward the village. "Tradition has its place, but not when it divides people like this. The elders, they talk of unity, but what they really mean is control." Obinna was silent, unsure of what to say. No one had ever spoken to him like this before, not even his own family. "What do you want from me?" he finally asked. "I want to help," Nena said, her voice firm. "We can't change things overnight, but if we don't start somewhere, nothing will ever change." Obinna stared at her, torn between disbelief and hope. Could they really challenge the system? The thought seemed impossible, yet standing there with Nena, it felt as if a door had cracked open, a glimpse of a future where things could be different. As they stood by the stream, a plan began to form. Small steps, quiet whispers. They would gather others who felt the same way, those willing to question the rules that had governed their lives for so long. It was dangerous, but Obinna felt something stir inside him, a determination he had never known before. "We'll need to be careful," Obinna said finally. "The elders won't take kindly to this." Nena nodded. "We will. But fear can't stop us." As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the two parted ways, each carrying the weight of what they had set in motion. The ripples of defiance had begun, and there would be no turning back. Weeks passed, and Obinna and Nena's quiet rebellion began to grow. In whispered conversations by the stream, during late-night meetings beneath the baobab tree, they gathered others, young men and women who, like them, questioned the ways of the past. There weren't many, but it was enough to plant the seeds of doubt in a village that had long clung to its traditions. One evening, as they gathered in secret, a soft voice spoke from the shadows. "You must be careful." Obinna turned to see an elderly figure emerge from the darkness. Maduka, one of the village's most respected elders, though not a member of the Ends. He was known for his wisdom, but also for his silence. He rarely involved himself in the politics of the village, choosing instead to tend to his farm on the outskirts of Nwankwo. "What are you doing here?" Obinna asked, his heart racing. Had their secret been discovered? Maduka smiled faintly. "I've been watching you, boy. You and your friends. You're stirring the waters of a river that's run still for a long time." Obinna glanced at Nena, who stood tense beside him. "We're just talking," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Talking can be dangerous," Maduka said, his voice soft but firm. "But sometimes it's necessary." Obinna's eyes narrowed. "Do you agree with us then?" Maduka chuckled softly. "I've lived long enough to see that change is inevitable. The world is not the same as it was when I was your age. But be careful how you go about it. The Ends won't take kindly to what you're doing. And if you're not prepared, they will crush you before you have a chance to act." Obinna felt a chill run down his spine. He had known the risks, but hearing them spoken aloud made them all too real. "What should we do?" Nena asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Maduka's gaze softened. "You must be patient. Build your strength quietly, like the roots of a tree. And when the time comes, be ready to stand tall." With that, the old man turned and disappeared into the night, leaving Obinna and Nena standing in silence. "We need to be careful," Nena murmured. Obinna nodded. "We will. But we can't stop now." The tension in the village of Nwankwo had grown palpable. Though Obinna and Nena had kept their rebellion quiet, rumors had begun to spread. Whispers of dissent among the youth. Questions about the OSU, about tradition, about the future. It was only a matter of time before the elders would hear of it, and when they did, there would be consequences. One afternoon, as Obinna walked through the village square, he felt the weight of eyes on him. The villagers had always stared, some with pity, some with disdain, but today, the stares felt different. Sharper. Accusatory. He quickened his pace, his heart pounding in his chest. Something was wrong. As he reached the edge of the village, Nena appeared, her face pale with fear. "Obinna," she whispered urgently, grabbing his arm. "They know." Obinna's blood ran cold. "Who knows?"
The ends.
"They've called a meeting. They're looking for you." Obinna's mind raced. He had known this day would come, but he hadn't expected it to arrive so soon. "What do we do?" Nena's eyes were wide with panic. "We need to leave."
Now.
But before they could move, a group of elders appeared at the far end of the street, their eyes fixed on Obinna. "Obinna," one of them called. "You have been summoned." The world seemed to tilt beneath him. There was no escape. The price of defiance had come due, and he would have to face it. As he and Nena were led toward the village square, Obinna felt a strange calm settle over him. This was what he had been preparing for. The time had come to stand tall, as Maduka had said. He only hoped he was strong enough.